Okay.
Hi folks, my name is John Smythe. I live in Olds, Alberta. I've been a member of the Central Alberta Woodturners Guild for approximately 5 years. I've been turning wood for about 35 years. My first major project was a bowl for my mother's 70th birthday, which was in 1986, so that's just about 35 years. So mostly I'm self-taught, and if you go back 35 years, modern wood turning was just starting. There were really not many bowl gouges or four-jaw chucks or anything like that at that time, and the AAW was in its infancy. So I do a lot of reading. There's very few days go by that I'm not watching a video or reading a magazine or looking at a tool book about wood turning. I have been to 6 symposiums in Saskatchewan, 3-day symposiums, which are extremely valuable, and I've been to 2 American Woodturner Association symposiums in the USA, and also taken some classes at Black Forest, and one from Richard Raffin and one from Doug Fisher. I find that being a member of the AAW for about 20 or 25 years has been really valuable. Every week they send you information, and they produce any number of information articles on how to do things. So anybody that's interested in wood turning, I definitely recommend they become a member of the American Association of Wood Turners. The Central Alberta Woodturners is the first guild I have belonged to. When I came to Olds in 2003, some 20 years ago, I was juried into 3 art groups, and so that's been my home, is the art groups, and still is, and I enjoy meeting with the people that do all kinds of different flatwork paintings and pottery and so forth. I'm going to show you some samples of what we're going to start and do this evening, and hopefully you'll be able to see what the objective is here. Okay, I wanted to show you some samples of the ornament that I'm going to turn this evening, and this is the traditional one that I do. They are a little bit flat. I like this kind of shape as opposed to a sphere, and finial on the bottom. This one happens to be spalted birch. This one also is spalted birch, but it's been dyed. And sometimes we make them with colored wood. This has got a different kind of icicle or finial on it, more like an icicle with water drops. So there's 3 pieces to this. Here's a ball that's been turned and dyed. And again, they're not all the same, but they're that similar shape. And then the finial or the icicle that fits in the bottom. And then the holder or the cap for the top. And there's 3 pieces to it. They're all made the same way. I also do some of these sea urchins. Make them into ornaments, and I also do some birdhouses. They sell quite well. I've done a few of these beehives. They're like almost like little boxes, and I've done some of these. I like this confetti colored wood. Buyers really like that quite a bit. And it's like a little umbrella that I wood burned on. And there's another one a little bit different. I made it square faces on it, and then I wood burned a pattern on it from a stencil, and then hand painted them. So I sell those as hand painted ornaments. Similarly, these, and these are hollow inside. You can't tell where I hollowed it because there's not a big hole in the bottom, but I hollowed them through the side and put a plug in. Then they're carved, stippled, again wood burned, decoration on it, hand painted with acrylic paint. and they're quite. So I sell Christmas ornaments. I go to craft shows and I go to Christmas shows, and a lot of the woodturners are men like ourselves, and with a number of ladies, of course, now joining into the hobby. But when you take your material to a craft show or a Christmas show, you'll find that 95%, 90% of the attendees are female. So I tend to turn something that's a little smaller, a little more delicate, and because I'm trying to appeal to that group. My customers for wood turnings of any kind are that 45 to 60-year-old female for the most part. That's who buys stuff, craft shows, Christmas shows. Okay. So for the body of the ornaments, I usually start out with something that's about somewhere between 2 and 2.5 inches square, and about 1.5 inches thick. And for the most part, I like to use maple burl, or some kind of spalted wood, because it dies good, and even if you just finish it plain, it all looks good. So that's what I use for that. Once you turn it round, you start to get something that looks like this. This is one stage. These manufactured wood, which you can buy in the U.S., can be quite attractive, and people will pick up and buy that kind of thing. The finials, I like, there's not very much wood here, so you can afford to use some good quality wood. You could use some ebony, you could use some rosewood, you could use some blackwood. I didn't have any blackwood, and I didn't have any ebony, or didn't have any, but this is rosewood. It turns really nice, and also you can make a finial out of this manufactured wood. This is something called burnt maple. I bought a board of that one time. It's fairly soft. It's roasted maple, so it's been ordinary maple that's been cooked at high temperatures until the sap turns it all brown. And,
is that the stuff that Lee Valley sells, that they make their tool handles out of then?
I might have got some from them, but I think the board I bought at Windsor Plywood. There's a pointed one. There's a kind of a traditional one, and there's a cup one. And this cup one I use lots because I find that when you're turning and you rough something out and you turn it between centers and then you put it in the chuck, if you use a point like this in your live center and try and put that in that hole that you initially had, it will pull everything off center. And sometimes it doesn't matter, but if you're trying to do a thin wall turning or something, you don't want that pulled off center. This particular point here, it's got a point in it, but essentially it's just a cup center. And if you want to do an off-center turning or something, like this cup center works really great for that, because you can just kind of reposition it all over the place. And the same thing with this one, even though it has a little point, you do have to move it around. So I use these lots, and I think they're really great. This between centers is block.
If you want to get some video, Keith, you can stand back here. Just about.
This is like a 40-40 pump and roll there.
Now I'm just going to start the penning here. Everybody's got to use this to give it a little bit of jump down.
It's not much of a light there, is it, John? I don't need a whole bunch.
You should be able to do that this much up to that 16th of an inch. That means you don't want to put a whole bunch of pressure on the wood to do that.
That's just a scraper you're using there, John?
Yep.
Quality is still there, but it used to be, right?
Not like it was back then. And that's it, after you do that. This is a little bit different. This is again, this is a Thompson detail gouge, which I think are about 40 degrees. This is going to be the bottom, and this is going to be the top, so I wanted to have it a little bit shaped. These are some things I just got.
What is that?
Stock wood turning wonders.
Yep.
And CAWTG has invented in the last 5 years some really good wood turning tools, plus CBN sharpening wheels. I've had some of his wheels. This is kind of ordinary sandpaper. I wish I'd have brought my other stuff with me, but
Cabernet?
the Abernet he sells, and I really like that Abernet sandpaper, and it's even after you convert to U.S. funds and get it shipped here,
Okay.
This isn't gonna be as smooth as it should
Never
be.
know.
Anyway,
Did you leave the piece out of that?
yeah, well, that had a gap in it, eh?
Oh,
That piece of wood,
character.
like character, yeah. I used it instead of, I'm not doing this right here. No, pull it out, right?
Yeah, you got the speed shut right off.
Oh, okay.
Good.
Anyway, we'll do that.
I've done
That's
mine
enough
is
of-
on
that's
or
enough
off
of
down
that.
where the belt is, right?
Okay, now we'll. Over there.
I didn't like those chucks. That sort of,
Yeah, those 120s are awesome. So is that different than the pin? Because I've got a set, but they just come straight out.
yeah, like this.
Oh, yeah. So what we're gonna now is we're gonna drill a 5/8 hole for hollowing. And when I started doing this, I used to do a 3/4 inch hole. But you need to learn how to hollow this out through a 5/8 hole, and I'll tell you why. It's because if you want to buy some exotic wood, you can buy a board, and most of those boards are 15/16 thick. So if you make a 1/4 inch hole, you don't have any shoulder left. But if you make a 5/8 hole, then you can make a 5/8 tenon on here.
And have a shoulder.
And then you got enough room for a shoulder. Now this is pretty slim on here because this got a little thin, but that's the eighths bit.
I really need to show my wife how we've got all these different chucks and everything, so that
That's okay. So I'm gonna use these easy wood tools for hollowing this out. That's, because that's my preference, and I have them. But these kind of tools would work equally as well. These are some I bought probably 20 years ago from Packard Woodworks in the US. And you just sharpen them, and they're just like putting to them. And the other thing that you can do is you can get yourself some Allen wrenches, and you can make yourself some. When you make them, make sure that the point here is in line with the shaft. So that point needs to be in line with the shaft, not way over. And this one's straight, but this one here, this point is in line with the shaft, so you need to get the bend, and also that will help you move around the corner.
I guess that helps with the digging and grabbing, does it? Being in more in line?
Yeah, that takes less torque.
Yeah.
Takes the torque off the handle. Put on along here.
that blade will reverse if you wanted to go backwards as well.
Okay. Stop and go on that thing, or is it just like a pause on your iPad, or is it just on? So inside here, where the 5/8 drill ended and the 3/8 started, there will be a little shoulder inside. And so that, I've hollowed these out so that I can pierce them with the dental drill and make lace of them. But hollowed out a little bit, we're gonna get some of the weight out of there and just go from there.
So how far did you drill your big drill through?
Within about a 1/4 inch of the
Oh, okay.
diameter, yeah. Yeah, I think look all that good. You can always do a hull, you can make it thin if you've got some bark in it, but yeah, that's quite a bit. It's about 3/8.
Yeah.
We could do a little bit more. So that's down, that's about 5/16 probably. I'm just gonna let it go with that. Right. So the next step is shop made mandrel. So this mandrel has a 5/8 shaft. Sometimes if I want to grip something or push something up, I use O-rings, just buy a set of O-rings, and sometimes they're handy in the workshop. And then this is a 3/8, so this is the same age as this. So when I push this on here, what we're going to do is this shoulder here is going to go up against here, and we're going to push this on here. So it's going to have some grip. But pull up the tailstock, and I don't have any pin in here. Now I can pull that up against that, and I'm going to put a lot of pressure on this little piece of wood that's in here between the 5/8 and the 3/8, and I'm going to put pressure on that, and that's going to be real tight.
Huh? So you just push on the shoulder on the inside?
Yep.
And then this one is just a good fit on this end too, or is it,
Yeah,
does it matter,
it's-
is it bigger?
Well, no, it's 5/8, so I probably got the hole a little big on the outside.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it
So
should be
it's
fine.
all being held right here?
Yeah, yeah. It's the same thing that if you do a nice vase and you want to finish the bottom, and if you take any kind of a rod and put it in a chuck, and if it's a piece of pipe and you can put like a sandpaper thing in the bottom, you know, like if you had just a 1/4 inch shaft with a piece of sandpaper on it, and you had a 1/4 inch shaft to fit a hole, and you put a vase, any size vase you want in there, and you want to finish the bottom, and you slide the vase over that shaft, and this sandpaper goes against the bottom, and you put your chuck here against the bottom,
It's not going.
they're not going anywhere, never coming off. So what we're going to do now is this is 3/8 detail gouge. So now we got that to the top. So we could finish sanding here now. We could have too much time sanding before, but anyway. It's way too fast for sanding. Now if you wanted to dye it with dyes, you could put some dye on it now. This is Triple E, which is cut and polished. It's got a grit in it, so I would do all this at this stage.
Make your axe.
So if you did a perfect sanding job and went to about 800, you could buff that up pretty good. You'll have to dig it out of the hole because, of course, you have some in the hole. If you're going to dye, you have to dye before you put that stuff on. This is the mate to that. Dripped in on Scott's later.
It's been dirty before, it'll be dirty again. You have no idea how much time I spent cleaning in here this weekend.
So that's essentially done.
That's very nice. Nice finish off of that wax too.
So it's Triple E. Available pretty much lots of places. What we're going to do now is we're going to put on a collet chuck. We're going to turn the finial.
Bigger than here.
So we're going to get something like this. That's what we're aiming for, something like that. Now, some people like to have long. I got that really too big, didn't I? So when I was hollowing it, I must have had the tool rubbing up against there, right? But to me that always, so I start out with about, I don't know, 4.5 inches piece of wood, which includes the tenon. I think that's what that is. Okay. That's about 4 inches, and make it about 4.5. Then you can cut the top off there too. So to me, those proportions look about right, and that's what I mean. And if you have this too long, of course, most people don't have enormous trees, so you want this to hang on a tree branch and not touch the branch in the bottom because you want it to be able to move. I even have some of those over there are shorter than this even. So let's start with this one.
Now, with your,
And to turn between centers, I made this, and that is a spur center of a tag lathe. And I mounted in this wood and put the thing in. And all that does, I could have used the other chuck for this, but all it does is saves me the hassle of see.
boy, that is one nice light.
Also from Wood Turning Wonders.
I can feel my credit card burning.
Just tell her in order to remain in the club, you have to have one of those, otherwise, we're discriminating.
I'm thinking that she's not up for that kind of BS, Keith.
Hang around you too long,
37 years or something like that, so.
So I'll show you something else here. So when I turned finials, I watched a demo and somebody was using a tool rest like that. And I thought, that's a great idea, so I'll just get one of those. Well, they were $75 US.
Oh, wow.
Plus shipping.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's like $125 by the time you get it here. So I had this tool post that I bought from Lee Valley one time, 1-inch tool post. So I bought some 3/4 inch mild steel and I threaded it. I drilled it and threaded it. It took me twice before I got it to almost 90 degrees.
Yeah.
And then I got 3/8 rod that I JB welded on top. That's just JB weld because I was always going to take it over to my son-in-law and get him to weld it, but we didn't get around to it yet. And the first one I had was about this long, and I decided I would cut it off, and then I sloped it too so that it fits up against the chuck. And I had a, but I just stripped the threads on it when I got here tonight.
Little collar.
I had a collar on it, which was just a homemade, just a 1-inch bushing that I threaded and groomed and threaded. But, and the collar is nice because then when you come to sand, you can just loosen this, flip it over here, flip it back and forth, and don't have to move it up and down. But anybody can make that. If I can make it, I'm not a machinist, anybody can make it. Is
Or Vicar.
It's a wee bit too high. That's a Badan tool. It's a French tool. If you ever watch French wood turners, they use this all the time. And they're quite versatile. Like, I've got this too high. Want to do a peeling cut?
What kind of piece of wood are you using?
That is some kind of rosewood.
Okay.
What I usually do at this stage is I use my 3/4 inch spindle roughing gouge. And because we're making a finial, we might as well start to taper it to the basic shape that we want. Because we're going to want a shape like this, well, we might as well get rid of some of that wood while it's between centers.
Would it be
What's that?
On your video for this part.
Okay. So when you make these, John, do you make them to a certain shape or just what you feel looks good at the time you're doing it?
It's probably something I decided as I'm doing it.
Okay.
So what we're doing now here is we're making the top. Because we drilled a 3/8 hole in the top. The advantage to this tool rest is now you can get your fingers out, because for the whole rest of this thing we're going to support. We're going to support this turning with our fingers at the back.
Right.
That'll be good enough for shape. Okay. Sand it.
So you likely to get chatter marks there, or do you have to just really light pressure as you're...
No, I don't think it'll be, yeah, it's light pressure, but I'm holding my hand behind it when I'm turning.
Right.
When I got the tool against it, so
So that
I'm
helps
supporting
when
it.
people takes it out.
Oh, yeah. Then we'll do some scratch free. So this has got grit in it and wax, but it's a little bit finer than the AAA. So I find that for some things I like it better.
It's a polished finish as well?
Yeah, it's a polished finish. It's just like the AAA, does the same similar job, except the grit in it, this is a little finer.
Right.
And then this is another one, this Huts. Problem is with having more than one finish, this still works, but you see it was best
Yeah.
before March 17, so
It's just
if you
barely,
turn every day,
barely
and
over,
you're doing
right?
something, you have a chance, but otherwise, if you buy too many varieties of finish, they This is about a 60 drill bit that I have. It's a little wobbly, but it'll be okay.
And what do you do in that little hole?
So I use these
No?
from Lee Valley.
Yep.
Used to use a 55, number 55 bit. A little bit off, but so fine, will hang fine.
If you'd screw that in when your lathe is running, it would go in faster.
This is my favorite cutoff. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So if we're lucky, that will fit in there and cover up that little mark. If it doesn't, then you have to take your carving tool and make the hole bigger. Or use the
Nice.
5. We can make any kind of design we want here now. We can just make the onion or the bulb and bring that straight down, or we could put a couple of little
And to get fine detail, we're going to use this vortex tool. This is a 1/4 inch round skew that I bought, never used, so I ground it into this thing. So we can crisp up the detail here, you see. Sometimes we could put in, this is crown 3/8 spindle gouge, 35 degree. I have got a Cindy DeRosa, and they have a deep U-shaped thing. And I've got also the one I use is this Thompson, which is a not a spindle gouge, it's a detail gouge, because you can see how much thicker it is. This one just about wore out, because it takes a lot of tools to learn how to sharpen. Now, do something like that, you get an idea where one. So it doesn't matter what kind of gouge I would use, whether it's the detail or whether it's this deep one or whether it would be this one. This one I haven't got down far enough. But I would peel that away the same way.
If you wanted a really dull tool, a little catch for you, I've got one.
Yeah, you would probably do this with a skew tear.
Actually, you're right, that's what I usually do.
it's almost like you've done that once before.
Twice. Did it twice. Okey-dokey. You can bend it over. And so, if you make something of that bowl that you made, if you finish that with shellac, you have to take it out to your car and it's not covered, and it gets a drop of water on it. Or if I went, so if we want to reshape this, we could put the 3/8, call it in here.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, nice job.
Nicely
Very nice
done.
work. Yep. And you,
Welcome.
I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did.
Yeah, I talked about wood turning.
So any final words of wisdom on?
Practice,
Yeah.
try, just a piece of wood.
Yeah.
If you make a mistake, don't worry about it. You know, if you turn some finials and you break some, then you're learning why you broke them. And
So is there a rule of thumb that that's 2 times longer than the body or 3 times, or is it just kind of
Well,
what looks good to the eye?
kind of what looks good if you follow the, I can't think of the word, Terry, here, but it's the 1.6 to 1.
Golden rule.
Golden rule, I mean.
Okay.
And this wouldn't be exact, but this is about 1.5, so it's got to be about 2.5, I guess, or something like that. But if this was this long, it would still be okay.
As long as it was light and not chunky, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
but you'd have to have that thin, you'd have to
Oh, yeah.
taper that all the way down.
no, the other thing, if you're like me and have 2 granddaughters running around in the house, you don't want them that thin and that long.
Yeah.
Keeping them tucked in a little
Yeah.
bit isn't a bad thing.
Yeah, these are sharp, yeah, for sure.
Good. Thanks, John.
Thank you.